Hello viewers, we welcome you once again, and as we go through this interactive interview, our guest is already here, Karibuni. Good evening, Elder Muriuki.
Good evening.
It's nice to see you once again.
It's my pleasure.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe for the benefit of our viewers, introduce yourself, tell us where we are.
Thank you. Yeah. My name is Stanley Muriuki. I'm born again. The place you are in is Mukinduri village in Kirinyaga County. I'm glad to welcome the team from PCEA Kariobangi South to Mukinduri. Thank you.
Karibu sana, Elder Muriuki. It's nice to see you once again. Let's go through this journey. We'll start from the beginning.
Yes.
When did you join Kariobangi South?
That is a long way to remember, but I can give the story of how I joined Kariobangi South.
Yes.
And back in 1977 is when I found employment in Nairobi in the office of the Auditor General.
Yeah.
Later on, in 1978, my family joined me because I had found employment. We were looking for a place to worship.
Yeah.
Our background was ACK.
Yeah.
That time it was called AC, or the Anglican Church.
Yeah.
And there was no Anglican church nearby.
Okay.
So we kept on looking and going all over the place, looking for a place to worship. And we did not settle in any place. But we used to travel by bus until one time the Buruburu ACK was founded.
Yeah.
When it was founded, it gave us an opportunity to be taking children to a nearby church, and then we can go to our church later on when they join us.
Yes.
That started to bring us to Kariobangi South because it was the church near. We took our children there, and when they completed church school, they could join, and then we could go to Buruburu.
Okay.
We continued that way until they became very active.
Yeah.
And because they were very active, the teachers of Sunday school started visiting us to see where the children were coming from.
Okay.
And one of the elders, I think he was the patron of the church school,
Yes.
Mr. John Getume, also started accompanying them.
Okay.
And we became good friends with him.
Okay.
He started persuading me to come over. This is a good church as it's near.
Yeah.
And it's not very much different from the from the ACK. So occasionally we would go to PC Kariobangi South and occasionally go to Buruburu.
Yeah.
And we found ourselves more frequently attending the Kariobangi South because it was nearer.
Okay.
It was nearer.
Okay. Where were you residing by then?
We were there in Kariobangi South, near the place we call 56 stage.
Okay.
We were in the 56 stage, and the church was just behind us.
Okay.
Initially, we were worshiping at the county, the Nairobi county shed. But almost immediately the time I joined, we moved to the new place which had been acquired through assistance of the mayor, then Andrew Ngumba.
Okay.
So I found myself joining.
So by the time you're joining, they were migrating from the shed
to
the new sanctuary, the wooden one.
Yes, we are migrating from the shed to the new sanctuary.
Okay.
So me, I would say really I worshipped very little at the shed.
Okay.
But one of my daughters was baptized at the shed.
Ah, okay. Who baptized her? Can you remember the minister?
I do not remember the name of the minister.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the minister.
Well, that's no problem. Okay. But that is historical. If your daughter was baptized at the shed,
yes.
Then eventually now moved to the new sanctuary.
Yes.
Were you just a member by then?
I was not a member. When I came to be wanted to be registered as a member, the elders told me that because I had already a child baptized there, I am a member. And
by baptism.
by baptism.
Yeah.
So I was telling them I'm not yet, but I became a member later on.
Yeah.
And my membership number was number 318.
318.
And my wife was 319.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay. So now you're members now at PCEA Kariobangi South, the wooden structure.
yeah.
Well, were you involved in any group, or how did you then become an elder?
No, I was very much a backbencher.
Okay. Which year did you become an elder?
It was 1997.
Okay.
In 1997.
1997.
But initially I became a deacon. I think that was 1991.
Yeah.
Approximately the time the new construction was being started.
Okay.
I became a deacon that time
Yeah.
for district number 2.
Oh, you became a deacon for district number 2.
That time they were not electing deacons, they were nominating.
They were nominating.
Yeah.
At that time, you're still staying at 56.
No, I had already moved now to the city council.
Oh,
I moved
houses.
to the city council houses.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So now your journey starts as a deacon. And then which year did you become the elder?
1997.
97.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, are you assigned to any district by then?
Yes.
Okay.
District number 2.
Oh, okay. That was your first posting?
That was my first posting,
Uh-huh.
and I stayed in district number 2 throughout until retirement.
Ah. You didn't serve in any other district?
I didn't serve in any other district.
For how many years?
I think it was from 97 to 2014.
Ah.
That should be about, is it 14 years or 17 years?
Throughout
Okay.
as the elder for district number 2?
I was district number 2,
Okay.
elder for district number 2 throughout.
So you left district number 2 on retirement.
I left on retirement.
And can you recall the ministers you served under for those 14 years?
I do remember, but I'm not remembering the name of the first.
Yeah, okay.
Then we had Reverend Gadanju,
Okay.
and Reverend Gadanju left.
Okay.
We had Reverend Maingi.
Yeah.
He was there briefly
Yeah.
because they were waiting for the minister to be posted.
Yeah.
Then we had Reverend Karanja.
Yeah.
After Reverend Karanja, we served with forgetting the name,
Yeah.
I think because of staying for a long time,
Yeah.
I tend to.
Okay. That's all right. That's all
Okay.
right.
Okay.
But mention Elder Muriuki and the word finance comes in the same sentence.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
How did you handle the finances as an elder?
I became treasurer for finance. Initially, I was treasurer for finance for building committee. That time we did not have development committee. The one that became development committee later on was that building.
Yeah.
And it was a good service actually, because we were trying to get funds from members. At that time funds were scarce. They were very limited.
Yeah.
And we were doing two things: running the church and collecting money for development.
Yes.
So it was really an uphill task.
Yeah.
So it was decided that development should be once in a year, where we are collecting funds in kind of a fundraiser, kind of a harambe, so that we don't interfere with the normal, with the regular church collections.
Yes.
But to make it that way, the session decided that it should be done using districts.
Yeah.
This kind of was good because it created competition, but it also removed the burden of collecting funds for development from the weekly collections, so that we could concentrate on raising funds for development from the district rather than from the daily Sunday services.
Okay.
Later on, I served as the treasurer for the parish treasurer, and I served for 2 terms.
For 2 terms.
Yes, I served for 2 terms.
Okay. How were the funds collected, banked?
That is, maybe you can put it differently, because
Did the did you have different accounts for each maybe group, for the Sunday collections, for the tithes?
Yeah. Yes, maybe we can come to that because Kariobangi South was one church so we had accounts for the parish and accounts for the congregation.
Yes.
We had different accounts. Groups had different, each group had its own account.
Yeah.
And then the parish had its own account. The congregation had its own account. So we had different accounts for each occasion.
Yeah.
But the ones that were bringing big challenge is usually the group accounts. And at one time, it was decided, and we had an instruction from the head office, that these accounts should be consolidated. They should be brought together for several purposes.
Yeah.
One of them is for proper control. Because when they are in different accounts, when they are in different places, there was no way you could be able to monitor them.
Yeah.
There was no possible way to be able to control them.
Yeah.
The other one is that the accounts were generating bank charges.
Yeah.
And the bank charges were really very enormous. If you would consolidate all the small bank charges for all the groups, they ended up to very large amounts of money.
Yeah.
At one time, we were asked to try to calculate the figures for the bank charges. And I don't remember the figures, but they were really enormous. They were very huge. So we started on the process of consolidating those accounts. With the assistance of the finance chair and the office, because there was a lot of resistance.
For consolidating the funds.
Yes, especially from the groups, and especially from the larger groups. And when I talk about larger groups, I'm talking about groups like the Women's Guild, because they had a lot of money. We are talking about groups like the Sunday School. It has also some quite substantial amount of money. And the youth, although they didn't have very much, they resisted. They were feeling like the session would want to control, take their monies, and especially because there were some challenges in payment of cess. At that time, and especially in my first term, we had challenges in raising the money for MMF and for cess. I remember one year, we passed the year with arrears for the previous year. And the other years we were struggling so that we would pay the cess from all the way from October to September without doing anything else.
Yeah.
So we were really struggling with the money. And because of the struggles, the session set, and they decided that we should take some certain actions. First of all, let me mention that I think it was in the first session, as we were struggling, we were working with the session office. I think we were meeting every week to strategize on how to raise money and also to see how we can distribute the little that was.
Yeah.
Because we are distributing between the services and the payment for MMF.
Yeah.
That time we were paying MMF and also paying presbytery cess. There was presbytery cess and the MMF. This later on were combined together to be just the MMF. But previously we had the presbytery cess and MMF. So we could meet every week to see this is what we collected, this is how we are going to do it. And because of the pressure that we had, we met every week in the church. And sometimes when we would not find time because we were working, the team would come to my office. And in town. They would come to my office, including the moderator. They would come and we sit there, look at this is what we collected on Sunday, this is what we are going to do, and these are the strategies for raising more money.
Yeah.
is some of strategies were put in place so that we reduce this struggle,
Yeah.
because we are really struggling that time
Yeah.
with the months.
Yeah.
One, the session was very cooperative,
Yeah.
because we would report, this is what we did. The session used to meet once in a month, and we would report what we did over
Over the month.
over the month, the 4 weeks of the month.
Yeah.
So it was very cooperative.
Yeah.
They would give suggestions, they would give ideas. But the session was also very concerned about reducing cost, especially on expenditures,
Yeah.
reducing any waste. So they were very thorough on expenditure. They wanted an explanation of what each item, what happened and how the money was spent. So it was really very challenging to the treasurer, and especially because our accounts were manual. And some of the records were really there in the office. You are in the session, and you are being asked what happened, how did you spend this one here. But it was very good because it encouraged and a very big element of accountability.
Accountability, yes.
And we needed accountability,
Yeah.
so that you would even come prepared. And it acted as a moral check,
Yeah.
because now you would expect to explain to that session.
Yeah. So that eventually, as time went on, the groups now started buying the idea of consolidated accounts, so that what they were resisting now, they started accepting it.
They started accepting, but it took quite some time.
Yeah.
And we had to do training. We did PowerPoint training, especially with the Elder Wajere, to take them through the benefits and the advantages of having a consolidated account.
Yeah.
One of them is that there is a proper accountability for the groups, and the other one, reducing the bank charges. They, as we went along, they started to see that we don't want to really to take their money, and they kind of relaxed.
Okay. For the benefit of the viewer, what is MMF?
MMF is Ministerial Maintenance Fund.
Okay.
It's used usually for that. It's collected for the purpose of paying the ministers.
Oh, okay.
It's a Ministerial Maintenance Fund.
Okay.
Paying for
For their salaries.
For the salaries.
Oh, okay. Now that you stayed that long in District Number 2, the youth in District Number 2 is known to be very vibrant during your time. What was the secret?
There were quite a number of things that did. One, we made deliberate efforts to reach out to the youth in the district, and listen to them, and give them as much freedom as possible, so long as within the confines of spirituality and church, to do what they required. One of them, they wanted to meet separately from the rest of the district. So we allowed them a day. The main district used to meet on Fridays, and we allowed youth to meet on Wednesdays. And for we allowed them to meet on Wednesdays. And because they were now like a different entity, that our district used to operate it in form of zones. They appeared like a different entity, like their own zone. We allowed them to operate like a zone, complete with their deacons. So they felt recognized, and especially when we allowed them to have youth deacon, who could be able to attend the LCC, they felt recognized. So that those are some of the things we did. And then one of the things that brought them very close for the church. And I happened to notice several problems and weaknesses that were affecting the youth. One, they were feeling like they were not being incorporated within the church structures and systems, like they were being left out. Two, there were other churches, modern churches coming up with a lot of, with good musical instruments. Some of them even with the sports and compounds where they could play games. The other one, we also noticed that there was a big difference between the youth that were brought up in town and youth that were migrating from the rural areas. And they were not properly integrating. Then, especially with these few challenges, when we went to look up about the youth in the district, together with the team we are working with, we are calling it the Deacon Court. We saw several things we could do to the district. One of them is to incorporate these youth into the district so that they could also become active. And they don't feel like they are discriminated or they are not incorporated in the matters of the church and in the district. So we allowed them to have a special day for fellowship, which was Wednesday. And us, we met on Thursdays, the main fellowship. We also allowed them to have their own leaders and to elect 2 deacons to become youth deacons. So this motivated them, making them feel like they are part of the church. Because now they handle representation, not only in the district, but also in the LCC. They felt they are represented. The other one we did was make competitions within the district. We could make songs, drama, and youth, we recognized them as one of the groups. Because we had divided ourselves into zones, we made them into one of the zones, the youth zone. So they came up with the competitions, and they were more vibrant than we were. We always allowed them to win.
You allowed them to win.
We allowed them to win.
Wow.
Not myself, but we allowed them to win. They felt motivated. This spread over to the church. They started to have singing and drama groups. So that it was like it was being led from district number 2.
To spread into the other districts.
Into the other districts. And several times they came here to Mukinduri. They came here to Mukinduri and they sang, made drama in PCEA Mukinduri, and the people of the church in Mukinduri was very excited about it.
Let's come to the strategic plan. You are heavily involved in the very first strategic plan.
Yes. You are involved in the very first strategic plan. Because there are some the chair for the LCC really wanted to have a strategic plan, but we didn't seem to have an idea. We even did several seminars away, and there are some people who are talking to us about it. So at one time, we said we have sufficient capacity from the church to make our own strategic plan without having to call experts from outside. So they asked us to make a team, which we made, including the financier. That time was Mr. Wajere and a few other people. And we came up with a draft that was for the session. My biggest participation was in making the guiding principles, what we call the mission, the vision, and also the motto. And I was tasked with giving a PowerPoint presentation. So one time when I was giving the PowerPoint presentation to the session, I explained about the vision, the mission. We had Reverend Maingi. Reverend Maingi was quite informed about strategic plans. At one time we argued about what a mission and a vision is, what should come first. I was able to convince them that the vision is where we are going and the mission is what we should do. And I said, in addition to this, we should have something to drive the church, which we call motto. At this point is what we really argue that Reverend Mikey was asking, what is this motto you are telling us about? What is this motto? Can you give us an example? So I thought a moment, and there's something we are using in the district as a greeting. You said, you and I, and you answer me, together to heaven. And I said, you and I, together to heaven. And everybody in the session said, yeah, that's it.
Wow.
That's what we're going to do. That's it.
And it's on until today.
It's on until today.
Yeah.
And even the vision we created, and the vision we created, they are still on today. We had Elder Kimondo, the late Elder Kimondo. He made it in form of an anthem. We incorporated them in the anthem. And then that's what the start of our strategic plan.
Okay.
Then we picked the key matters, including the finances. The finances, because they were still low, we put them as an important factor, as an important asset in the strategic plan, because we wanted to improve our finances. So we came up with some of the strategies, like having special days to collect funds so that we can be able to meet our sales at MMF. Some of those were having a day for Thanksgiving, which really helped us to improve the finances of the church. Then we came up with the session, came up with a day to bring in what we call monthly commitment. This was voluntary contribution. And quite a number of people, very many people came up, took up the idea. And they came up now with contributions for the commitment Sundays. And it became regular until we were able now to be meeting the sales in the first 7 or so months. So we are left with our 2 months to do our other things.
Wow.
There were several other steps that were taken, including the one you had asked me before, consolidating the accounts.
Okay.
When the accounts were consolidated, it became easier to have access to them, not so that we could use the group's money, but we could borrow from there, so that we can repay when money becomes available.
Okay.
And it always became available.
Okay.
Later on, because really there were hardships, the session decided, through the advice of the finance committee, to cess or to get some money from the groups. So we don't know whether to call it a cess or what. We cess the groups 30% of what they collected during their week. And this continued until the parish account was able to start on its own, so that we could be able to do without
run the finances. Okay. Now, as we draw to the end of this interview, briefly mention to us about the moderatorial trophies, and also the magazine you had in district number 2.
In district number 2 we had a magazine which we called D-Top, District 2 own paper. D-Top. We first of all we started in very ambitiously. We thought we could have it every month, but then that became very challenging because of the printing process and even receiving the articles. Then we made it every 3 months. That was still very challenging. Ultimately, we made it once in a year. What we were doing is to collect the articles from the members and also from other people who are interested in contributing. You'd make a topic for contribution like drug abuse. You would pick one topic and write about it.
Okay. How are you financing the magazine?
We in District 2 had a small fund.
Okay.
Members used to contribute. I don't remember how much.
In a kitty.
In a kitty. So most of the time I did it in the office, and I used my own paper. It's just, but whenever I needed funds, we would get from the kitty.
Okay. And that moderatorial trophy, you handled that?
Yes. This was an idea from Reverend John, was called John who? That's the name I was forgetting the other time. It was to award, it was actually intended to motivate people who are doing well in the church, as individuals, as groups, in various capacities, and even external people, as people who are supporting the people who are supporting the community, like the MP. And we were given the task with I was the chairman for the committee. We were given the task of identifying the criteria of the people to be given their awards. If it is in groups, in terms of, don't remember all the criteria, but in terms of the activities they did, in terms of how the impact of the church, how they were impacting the members of the church. And there was quite a number of activities, but it was a very good thing because it was motivating people. It was making people try to reach those targets which we had made for for evaluation.
So you would evaluate the performance of every group?
Of every group, and even for individuals.
Okay.
You would pick certain individuals, try to weigh their contribution towards the church. We asked for nominations. And from these nominations, we would now try to evaluate them according to our criteria. And there were quite a number of those nominations. Okay.
So as we conclude, who took over from you in district number 2?
It's I'm forgetting.
Okay, there's no problem.
Forgetting the name, but
okay.
I think that time it was Elder Muriuki.
Okay. Now, on 6th of April, we are having the celebration for 25th year, 25th year anniversary of the parish. Through that camera, talk to the PCEA Kariobangi South congregation or all the other viewers and give them your word of counsel, and especially on handling finances.
And especially on handling of finances. One, I'd want to say I'm very proud to be a member of PCEA Kariobangi South. One, because it is what we would call a family church. It is so evident that people who live do not want to quit Kariobangi South because of the love and togetherness that is there. That is one thing that should be maintained because it can create a strong and a powerful church. In terms of finances, initially we were struggling. Now I believe we are not struggling very much, but we still need to sustain the contribution in the church, especially in terms of commitment, in terms of tithing, so that we can make growth and progression in the church. One thing is that Kariobangi South is a church of praise and prayer. When I came here to PCEA Kerogoya, I also joined a church which is very vibrant in praise. And whenever I talk to them, and sometimes when I'm asked to pray, I find myself mentioning Kariobangi South because it is so much etched in the mind because of the impact that it gave us in terms of especially praise and prayer in Kariobangi South. My urge is that we don't drop this. We continue to be powerful in prayer, in praise, giving our contributions, giving in terms of tithes, so that we can be able to support the work of God. At me, what I would say, if we hold hands together, you and I, together to heaven. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Elder Muriuki. You and I together to heaven.
You and I together to heaven.
We look forward to see you on 6th of April.
I'll definitely be there.
Please, it will be very nice to see you.
And I intend to be there even one of the days before we get to 6th.
It will be very nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you.
Viewers, that was Elder Muriuki of the Mukinduri at Kirinyaga County. Welcome.
Thank you.